Funding for this program was provided by the Annenberg CPB project.
I'm trying to get the language to transform or create a whole nother description than the one that you see that is presented for you.
She is somebody who works in 2 dimensions, in 3 dimensions, who works in space, who works with your space.
They're very large. In relationship to the person standing there, it's quite large, and it's like a scene you could almost walk into.
I never printed on felt before, and I didn't know how the ink will respond to it.
We had 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
In order to get everything for the show completely printed and ready and up on the wall.
I think that she continues to challenge and confound her audience, and I think that that's very exciting. It was a moment at which, you know, there was a real sense that something had happened, something was occurring.
I was traveling with a girlfriend of mine and came across a book by, I think, Pat Calafia, which the title is Public Sex, but it's about sexual activity in public places and laws around that and social mores around that activity. And that kind of interests me in terms of subject matter and kind of creating narratives and documenting different sorts of places. There should be 7 different images in the show in kind of various sizes. So there's a rock, a park, an office building, a fire escape, 2 hotel rooms, a parked car. Within those different environments, the work is kind of focusing on private activities that take place in public spaces. So I tried to first focus on places that are well-known arenas for that kind of activity. Places that come to mind just in terms of everyone's experience, like a car, like a hotel room, which is a public space. A park, sex in parks or bathrooms in public areas. There's nothing special about the process of taking the picture to me. I mean, it's just 2 1/4 camera, black and white film, take it to the lab, get it developed, and then the real thing starts with getting the images together for silk screening. So that's really where the technical side of it becomes more intense, or in terms of getting the image right.
Okay, so now I can just put the compressor and stretch.
So I looked up John Noblet, who I'd worked with before, in using silkscreen, but on paper. His studio and his setup is completely mechanized.
We increase now the pressure to 10 newtons.
probably 92, 93, I started shifting away from using photographic images solely on photographic paper in frames or Polaroids, and started looking for other methods and other ways of reproducing images on different sorts of surfaces, like glass, which is what I've been doing now, just printing on felt. I've been working with a printer in Portland, Oregon, and it was coming very close to the due date of the show, and he was unable to print it. The image was not coming up. It was very inconsistent. And the process, which was lithography that we've been using, did not work. We didn't have the time because we'd already been working on it for about 3 months. What I needed was a process that would deliver more ink to the surface of the felt, and Silkscreen provided that process.
So we have the screen, which is with polyester mesh. The screen is coated, and then we expose the screen, so we have now the image ready to go. So this machine has one squeegee, which is kind of a rubber blade. We help the ink be pushed through the mesh, and then we have a float bar. We'll bring back and float the screen back to the starting point of the cycle. And I'm ready to go.
Jean has this ultraviolet dryer, which he uses for paper, which just immediately dries ink so that you can stack and kind of work very quickly. And that proved to be one of the most important pieces of machinery in this project, because it allowed us to dry out the felt, prevent it from completely expanding, but also because we're delivering so much ink to the surface, allowed us to dry it fairly quickly, where in other circumstances it would take weeks for it to dry.
The first one is always amazing, yeah?
Part of the thing that I like about using the felt is that it doesn't need to be framed and protected, but there is a kind of density that the felt has. It's very attractive. In the way that the images print on them, because of its surface, light is absorbed rather than reflected as with different surfaces. Because they're blown up so large, they're much grainier, a little bit more tougher quality to the way the image is, since the means by which it's reproduced also has a much coarser feel to it.
You're sure you will have enough space to put them on the walls?
Yeah, I looked at that yesterday. 3 will fit 4, it gets kind of, I thought it maybe 4 tall, it wouldn't work.
No?
No.
The time frame was a little bit crazy.
We are printing the day of the show, we are printing on Saturdays and Sundays, we are printing 14 hours a day.
On different ones we ran into big hurdles in the way that the contrast of the original image and the way that that was translated. Some of them were slightly different.
The one with the car, we realized wouldn't work. The density of the positives and negatives were wrong, and we didn't have enough craning. It was kind of smudgy.
Every time it seems that it's a different set of problems, and that really that it's a different technology that's employed to get different results. I cannot solely rely on one sort of technology in order to do it. It's kind of by trial and error. What's the best way to get the job done, to get the show up, to get the images on the felt?
That's it.
That's it.
It's definitely it.
It's what it should have been and what it is.
Yeah, it's great.
Looks great.
Really good. This is incredible.
Well, this is good. There's going to be a show in Soho worth seeing this for.
So you do like it?
of art in this place.
I was surprised that he wanted to open with my work, because there are other artists who could have opened the gallery and who are quite well known also. So it's a unique opportunity for me in terms of re-entering the New York gallery scene.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Lorna Simpson is one of the foremost practitioners of what I would describe as post-conceptual art. She's not confined to a single medium. It's a very rare thing that you find that kind of intellectual inquiry and that kind of consistency and qualitative thinking presented in a single package alongside work which is both intriguing and dare one say also, I think, very beautiful in many respects. She is an African-American woman. There are all sorts of expectations, and how you deal with those. Lorna's incredibly stylish about the way in which she deals with all of those issues, takes all of those issues and steers it back towards, no, it's not about me, it's not about this issue, it's not about what my ethnic background is, it's about the work. If she wasn't a great artist, it wouldn't matter what those other issues were.
What's on the other side, Lorna? Was that the mistake?
Bad print.
Oh, no, I'm just asking.
$32 a pop. Mm-hmm. The material.
I know the felt. I know. So when did these images start?
Thelma Golden is a curator at the Whitney Museum of American Art. She's somebody who has a relatively unique ability to persuade almost anybody that they should engage themselves in looking at work that is very often very difficult for them to deal with.
I mean, since the pieces have to do with sex or public sex and private acts in public spaces, I'm thinking of different environments that are cues.
And did the texts that go with these sort of refer specifically?
Yeah, so yeah, the text, and it refers to the site. So this one, I mean, there's text about a sociologist who studies the activities of men in public bathrooms and kind of his role or kind of how he goes about his study. With the park, and in the fact that it's an aerial view of a park at night, kind of has a two-sided thing. It's about watching what goes on in the park, as well as how the trees and the bushes act as cover and shelter and creates these kind of secluded areas. That's the way that either it entices or positions the viewer. And the text that goes with it is though there were small narratives, kind of not so much describing acts themselves, but describing individuals and rendezvous,